So we have Trina, then we have, I'm just going by the people that are on by my screen, the order of people. So then we have Mary, who's going to be the pre-admissions advisor. You'll see soon a screen with everybody there as well. And then we have Rhonda Philpott, who is one of the instructors in the program. I'll start with an academic overview, just talking a little bit about the program. Then Trina will be joining me in presenting some of the administrative information that you might be interested in. And in about 20 to 25 minutes, we'll have the question and answer period to address some questions that you might have. So again, just to repeat, the session will be recorded for future reference on our website. Here is a little bit about the team. You've already met me virtually. I think I look prettier on this picture, hopefully. Then you also met Rhonda, another of the program instructors, and two other people that we're going to have teaching in the program regularly are Dr. Steve Marshall, who probably be teaching you courses around language acquisition. And we also have Dr. Joel Henk Hartze, who's going to be teaching you a course on identity and education. So these are some of the people in the instructional team. And then you have on the right side hand people who are really supporting the program within the community programs as the Faculty of Education. We have in the middle of this tiny picture, Carly Hayes, who's the manager of community programs. Then on the, so this is my left, we have Irene, who actually works with other community programs, but if Trina is not around, you could talk to her. Then Trina, our main person, go-to person for administrative inquiries. And then we apologize that we don't have a picture of Mary, but Mary just recently joined us. So hopefully we might be able to have one on the website soon. But if not, at least you know who she is and how she looks like. And she'll be the one kind of really conducting the interviews with you. So let's start with what this program is about. So the Master of Education in Teaching Languages in Global Context is designed for students from all over the world who are interested in teaching additional languages, that is, teaching languages beyond what we call the mother tongue of people in various settings. What we see as the strength of this program is that we are inviting people with diverse experiences and diverse perspectives to join us. And this really brings strength because we will be learning from each other simply because we all have different experiences. And we live in a global world where things are interconnected, but at the same time localized. And so it is really useful and important to be strengthening our perspectives in this world through understanding how other people have experienced language learning and teaching. Now, something about the features of the program. So this is a full-time program, which means that it is an intensive 4-term program. What usually happens in the Faculty of Education is that people commonly take at least 6 terms to finish a program because they teach usually or do some other full-time work. But this is a dedicated program for people who will be full-time, just focusing on the studies. Again, to repeat that we are inviting people from a range of educational backgrounds and from different parts of the world. And also, interestingly, we are happy to invite people who may not have had teaching experience yet in teaching additional languages. They might have taught something else, or they might not even have taught, but really are very strongly interested in the field. As far as other features of the program, the focus of the program really is on theories and research in teaching and learning languages. We are talking about languages, additional languages broadly. We will not be specifically talking about how to teach Japanese or Mandarin or any kind of language. It's more about what are the main kind of perspectives around teaching and learning languages. The other important feature of the program is the so-called fieldwork courses, and Rhonda could talk a little bit more about those, but this is where you'll be actually having opportunities to observe in Canadian classrooms how languages are taught and learned, or in general, the educational settings in a context like Vancouver. Another important feature of the program is that we are providing support. First of all, cultural support, as we're expecting people from various parts of the world who would be new to Canada and new to making sense of different cultural understandings and perspectives. We are there to support. And this is one way we're supporting them by having a cultural assistant. We also have academic literacy support, and this would be somebody who will be working with the students, because certainly academic language is very different from everyday language, and academic genres are very different in various parts of the world. So we feel that it's important to support students who are trying to navigate different academic expectations. Another important feature of the program is that it is a cohort, which means that there is a group of people taking courses together all along. Most of your courses will be together. And we are trying also, again, with the cultural support, we are trying to have potentially some out-of-class community experiences as well. But overall, a key feature is creating a sense of belonging and community for everybody in the program. Now, what is the format of our program? As I mentioned, you have a cohort of about 18 to 22 students, and students will be taking 7 courses. These are all 5-credit courses, and this is over a 3-term period. That is fall, what you call spring and summer. And then the last term is when the capstone comprehensive exam happens. I'll talk a little bit about that in a little while. So there is 7 courses, as I said, and as I said, because this is a full-time intensive program, courses are offered in the daytime. And this is just an example of what would be the times courses might be taking place. Okay, now to the program timeline. So we start in the fall, and probably this is the heaviest term, if you wish, because actually you'll be taking 3 courses, while commonly, usually it's common for people to take 2 courses. And as I said, in many other programs where people work full-time, they actually take 1 course. But because of this is an intensive program, we go with a minimum of 2 courses. The first one, however, as I said, is a more intensive one. And this is because we have what we call here Education 835, which is called Graduate Study in Second Language Education. And this is really a course that supports students in entering the academic discourse community of a North American university, specifically in supporting the development of writing skills, reading skills around second language education or additional language education. Together with this course, there is Education 710. This is a course that I teach, and this is a course that kind of is related more to, if you wish, methodology in second or additional language instruction, and also providing some information about latest developments in terms of issues around language education. And then we have Education 811. This is fieldwork, and this is Rhonda, who's with us today, who will be having you go to classrooms. And I believe the first fieldwork is in public schools, and also doing some kind of inquiry on your own. So this is the fall. We start in September, and then we end in December. This is the fall of 2021. Then the spring, the so-called spring term, starts actually in January and ends somewhere in the beginning of April. And you'll have 2 courses in this program, in this term. Education 825, where the focus is really on second language acquisition theories and how people learn languages and what we can do in educational settings to support people in learning languages. Then there is the second fieldwork course, again with Rhonda, and this is where you'll be observing in adult language classrooms, and again, be engaged in your own inquiry within these classrooms. Then comes the summer. In the summer, you have a course entitled Sociocultural Perspectives on Education and Identity. As I've already mentioned, identity is a big theme within the course we'll be starting to talk about from the first term, but also certainly here specifically in the summer. And so up to now, all these courses you will take together as a cohort. Now, together with this course in the summer, you also be able to take one more course, and we call it an elective course. And this is where you choose a course from other courses that are offered in the Faculty of Education for other programs, for students in other programs. So it is very likely that this elective will be happening in the evening. Let me think of examples of courses that are offered in the summer that you might take. Could be something like current issues in curriculum pedagogy, or multicultural and race relations, multicultural education and race relations, something like that. And there is a few. So I think there'll be a number that you could choose from. Finally, we come to the last term of the program, which is next fall, actually the following fall 2022, when you have the comprehensive exam. So this is not an exam where you sit and write in a room for 2 hours. We just call this period comprehensive exam period, but what will be happening is that I'll be working with you in supporting you in developing your comps exam components. So there'll be what we call a scholarly paper, and in this scholarly paper, you will be actually expanding on a topic that you've already developed an interest in earlier in the program. Then we'll have something that we call a portfolio, where you are really bringing in some artifacts or some things that have been part of the program that you really felt were important for your learning journey. This is a place where you document your learning through the program, and especially how whatever you've learned in the program would impact you as practitioners in the classroom. And then there is a third component of this comps exam, and this is where you will be presenting on your scholarly paper. And so you could think of it as a mini conference, like each of you have about 20 minutes to talk about your paper. And you'll be asked questions by your examining committee, but also by your classmates in the cohort. So we are celebrating in a way your learning, your journey, and supporting each other in this process. And so once this is done, the program ends, and the formal granting of degree happens in a convocation ceremony in June. Okay, so here's a little bit about the admission requirements, and Trina will actually talk more about that. We do expect that people who come to our program hold a bachelor degree with a strong academic performance, which means about 3 GPA from a recognized university. Then another piece is that people need to provide evidence that they are capable to undertake advanced work, advanced graduate work. And we look at your writing sample that you submit, your letters of reference, certainly your transcripts. All these things are part of the admission requirements. As I said, it's wonderful if you already had teaching experience, if you already taught languages, but this is not a requirement, but certainly an asset to join the program. And then the last piece in terms of requirements has to do with language requirements. The program will be in English. So all the applicants to the program need to have met SFU's English language proficiency requirement, which, if you wish, we could talk a little bit more about that, but we could direct you to a website where it says how much IELTS, like what would be the score for IELTS, certainly academic IELTS exam or TOEFL. Yeah, we need to have that before you could be admitted. Now, another thing that is not very common in program admissions is that we actually interview our applicants, and this is something that Mary will be doing, and if you have questions about that, she'll respond to those. And so what is happening is that once you submit your application, Mary will contact you and arrange a time for you to have a 30-minute virtual interview. And after this virtual interview, you have a short essay to write for about 45 minutes that you have to then send to her. And this is a very, I mean, it will be a general education related questions. I think that Mary could talk a little bit about that if you have questions around that. So this is about the admission requirements. Now, something about the tuition. Well, I don't know how you find this tuition, but because this is what we call a specialty program or cost recovery program, it means that all the costs for the program are actually paid through tuitions. The other thing that's important is that together with the regular course offerings, we do have this extra support, right, that's being offered in the program. And also with the fieldwork actually components, we have additional costs there too. And the other thing is that because it is a 4-term or intensive program, this makes it that is more expensive than many other programs. The tuition altogether would be for the 16 months around $24,000. What additional fees are fees like she has given examples of a student activity or graduation fee. I know there is what was that called? Like athletics fee. There is the universal bus pass, or I mean, there is a. So these are kinds of additional fees for everybody who's part of this program of this university. And these are just extra things that you need to have in mind.
Rumi, can I just jump in about the fees? Is that possible?
Yeah,
go ahead. I just wanted to say, even though the fees seem like a lot, Rumi was saying that our course is intensive. So if you were to get the same degree in the regular stream programs, you would be going for more semesters. And so it works out, the cost isn't as different as what it looks like right here. It's just that our course is really compressed. So the cost looks a little bit higher, but if you were to spread it out and have to pay for 2 or 3 more semesters, it doesn't work out to be a lot different, a little different for sure, because we have other services, but just keep that in mind when you're looking at that, that number. Okay, that's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, thank you. So talk a little bit about financial resources, and we have to be clear that actually overall, if you think about financial resources at the university level, there aren't too many of them, but certainly there might be private or external awards. And if you, I mean, you're welcome to, I mean, this is a link there, like the Financial Aid and Awards Office, and you could click on that and figure out what kinds of awards there are. I do need to make a point though that a lot of these awards are for people who are doing thesis-based graduate work, and because this is a course-based graduate work, unfortunately, not many of these opportunities would be something that you could qualify for. But anyhow, you're welcome to look at those. Another thing though, which I really think is great, is that there are financial resources for conferences, and we really encourage our students to present at conferences, certainly to attend conferences as well. So you are welcome, and you will be eligible to apply for what is the Faculty of Education Conference Travel Award, which is about $400 a year, or the Educational Graduate Student Association grant, another $400 a year, or once during a program, you could apply for something which is the Graduate Student Society's professional grant. So this is something you could think about and hopefully consider presenting work that you're doing as part of the program or something else that you're involved in. Certainly your comps papers. A lot of people actually go to conferences to present their comps papers. Trina is joining us to talk more about the application process.
The first thing that you want to be aware of is to make sure you're applying for the correct program. So when you go into the application system, you will see the department is education, And under program, you have to look for the one that says teaching languages in a global context. And it starts with MEd because this is a Master of Education program. You then need to also choose teaching languages in a global context from the specialization field. And you're going to choose the term that you're applying to, which is fall 2021. When you complete the application, you have a maximum of 28 days to complete it. And then when you submit it, after you submit it, there's sometimes a lag between when you submit it and when you get invited, an email inviting you to pay the application fee. And that's just because the system has to go through and do a double check to make sure there's no technical issue with the application, like a programming issue, or you haven't applied and have an existing student number at SFU that's not been matched with the application. So once you get the email from our system inviting you to pay the application fee, if all your transcripts are Canadian transcripts, the application fee will be $90. If you have any transcripts, however, that are from outside of Canada, then the application fee will be $125. You will also note that once you submit your application, an email is generated to your referees, inviting them to go to the link in the email and submit the reference that they are writing on your behalf. So it's important when you're completing the application that you include all your references, their names and email addresses, and the various pieces of information about them that we're asking. We ask for both academic and professional references. It's important to get both types because they both have different elements about yourself that they're going to be speaking to with respect to your application. So both support your application in different ways, but in very vital ways.
Can I join in here?
Yes.
Though, because some of our applicants actually might not have a lot of work experience. So if you don't worry that you wouldn't be able to bring in professional references. You could just go with academic. Sorry about that, Trina. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. It's actually, to be candid, that's actually often the opposite question that I get. I most often get questions from applicants saying it's been a while since I was in university. I don't have any interaction with my former instructors, so I only have access to professional references. Whichever you have, just be very careful to choose somebody who's going to be able to speak to your ability to undertake graduate level work, someone who's had the opportunity to perhaps observe you leading a team or leading a project, doing some type of work that requires inquiry, somebody who's going to have the strongest voice as far as representing who you are to the application admission committee. Once the online application is submitted, as I said, then an email goes to your referees, and if they have any difficulty with submitting their reference to that link that's provided, please direct them to my email address, which is on the website, because I will always work with them to resolve any issues that they have, even if it means that I have to take the reference from them and upload it to our system myself. I'm happy to do so. Documents that you will need to upload, note that you cannot upload them until after you have submitted your application. But once you've submitted the application, then you can begin to upload your transcripts, your letter of intent, your writing sample, your resume or CV. And we will work with you if you're having any difficulty with uploading anything. Again, you would just contact me. The original transcripts, we do also require an official transcript from your university. That can come in after we've reviewed your application if you're admitted, but if you're intending to submit the official transcript earlier than that, please note that at this time we are accepting digital transcripts from international schools. We're often asking that they be encrypted, but we are accepting them, and they would go directly to our graduates and postdoctoral studies office. But the information about how to submit those is available on our website. The application deadline is important to note. The application deadline is March 15th. We normally give about 1 week after that for remaining or outstanding documents to be submitted. And then we will begin the review of the applications. It is important that you be on top of your application and make sure you've got everything submitted so that you're able to be reviewed, because unfortunately, if an application is incomplete, we very often don't have the ability to contact you and try to seek the information that's missing. It'll depend on the numbers of applicants, of course, but normally we have sufficient that we don't have the ability to follow up with you. So if you have any further questions beyond what we've told you here about the application process, information is available on our website, which you see listed here. You're also free to email me. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. The process for review, as I mentioned, it doesn't start until after applications close. And typically it takes about a week before we will start that review, because we have to wait for all the documents to be in place. But once all the documents are in place, we begin the review, and it takes about 8 weeks for us to go through that process, submit our recommendations to the Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies Office, and then they review the applications and the offers that we're making, and they confirm it, and they will send out those offers. If you are sent an offer of admission, you have 21 days during which you need to accept the offer and pay the $250 admission deposit.
I just want to actually add something here, because we will not be able to offer admission letters before the deadline, clearly, but because we expect a large number of applications, we actually review the applications on a continuous basis. So the earlier you're able to submit your full application, the better, so that you have a shorter time than after the deadline to really finalize our assessment and evaluation of people's applications. So a couple of final points, and this is certainly, we don't know what's going to happen with COVID. Hopefully we'll be actually meeting face-to-face to start the program really in place here at SFU. But if this is not possible, we will be having a remote delivery of the program. And you will be aware of that as soon as we have this information from SFU. Now, because we're expecting a lot of students from international students from elsewhere, so it is important that you actually check with SFU International. We have the link down there. The important thing is that we cannot advise you in any way about how to apply for student permits, what to do about visas. This is the place to go and ask SFU International. And I just have here the link for certainly frequently asked questions around COVID, certainly. So I think we're done. And I'd like to thank you for attending this session and being very attentive to what we had to say. We now are looking forward to receiving your questions and certainly your application.